your Spanish will explode after learning these tenses. Now, in reality, we really just need 3 main tenses, and those are the ones that we're going to look at in today's video. The first one is what we call the informal future, and arguably it's the easiest to learn because it is the simple pattern of ir plus a plus an infinitive verb. So ir meaning to go, a meaning to, and an infinitive verb meaning to blank. So here we have the conjugations of the verb ir in the present tense. I'd like to let you know, in this video, we're not going to go over the nitty-gritty of each of these tenses. These are just going to be basic introductions of how to conjugate these in these tenses and when and why we would use them. So here we have the conjugation of ir in the present tense. We have voy, vas, va, vamos, van. So I go, you go, he goes, or she goes, or also usted goes, right? You go, formal. Vamos, we go, and they go. Ellos van or ustedes van. You guys go, okay? Now, an important thing to understand in Spanish is that the regular present tense in Spanish can also take on the idea of an ing verb in English. So if something is happening right now or in the near future, we can also use this regular present tense. So voy can mean I go or I am going, depending on the context of the sentence. So how would we say we are going to eat? Now, in theory, you should know how to say this unless you don't know how to say this verb to eat. Okay, so we have ir, so we are, all right, so we take ir, we is vamos, okay, so we are going. That entire phrase of we are going would just be vamos. Then we're going to attach on our a, according to our rule, and now we have the infinitive verb comer, for to eat. So, vamos a comer, and it is simple as that. Now you are speaking in the future tense. I promise you, it really is that simple. Here's the thing. In Latin America, we use this much more than we use what's called the simple future, which would be something like hablaré or hablarás, meaning I will speak, you will speak. The idea of will, I will do something. In Latin America, 95% of the time, we are going to be using this, the informal future. So once you've learned this, you can speak in the future tense. So literally in, I don't know how long we've been recording, 3 minutes, you have learned how to speak in this future tense in Spanish. It really is that simple, okay? Next, we have the present tense. I'm going to underline this so we know that it's kind of a different thing. So now we have the present tense, okay? Once again, we're not going to go over the nitty-gritty of each tense. However, I'm going to teach you the conjugation rules for the regular present indicative, okay? So for AR verbs, we have o, as, a, amos, an. So what is an AR verb? It is simply a verb that ends with AR. So a verb like hablar, for example, okay? Hablar means to speak, okay? That's an AR verb. So in order to conjugate it, all I need to do is cut off the AR at the end, and then I would have o, as, a, amos, and an. So for example, here we have hablar. Let's conjugate it, okay? Let's say I want to say you speak. How would I say you speak with this verb, hablar, okay? According to our rule, hablas, right? Hablas. And it's very important that you understand how to conjugate verbs in Spanish because many times native speakers will not attach subject pronouns to verbs. So they won't necessarily say tú hablas. They will just say hablas. They won't say nosotros hablamos. They will just say hablamos. And because we understand our conjugation rules, we know, oh, right, they're talking about we or you or they. Also, please understand that something like habla could represent he speaks, she speaks, or you speak, right? Coming from usted. So how do we understand who we're talking about if we don't say ella or él or usted? Context clues. So if we've already been talking about Bob, and then I say habla bien español without mentioning Bob, I understand I'm saying Bob speaks Spanish well because I have the prior context that we've been talking about Bob. Okay? How about with the verb comer? All right, it's an ER verb ending with ER, And the conjugations are o, es, hemos, en. Okay, so this is for yo, I, tú, you, él, ella, usted, okay, like he, she, and you. Hemos for we, nosotros, and él, okay, meaning for ellos, ellas, ustedes, they, or you guys, or you all. So, how would I say you guys eat? You guys eat here, okay? So, we have our conjugation rules here, okay? En is representing ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Ustedes in Spanish means you guys or you all. In Latin America, ustedes can be used both formally and informally. In Spain, we use vosotros. Vosotros is for an informal group of people, whereas ustedes is strictly for a formal group of people, okay? But in Latin America, we use both, okay? So, you guys speak would be falling under the ustedes form. So we have ustedes comen. Okay, that means you guys speak. Okay? All right, and finally we have the verb vivir. And these conjugations are pretty much the same. The only difference is here in the nosotros form. So how would I say I live? Okay? Well, according to our rule, the yo person is the o. So we cut off that IR. Now we have viv. And then we're going to add on the new ending according to our rule, which would be o. So we have vivo. Remember that the verb vivir, the pronunciation of the V in Spanish sounds like a B in English, okay? So it's not vivir. No, it is vivir. It's kind of a soft B sound, okay? So hablas, you speak. Comen, you guys speak. And depending on the context, this could also mean they eat, for example. And finally, vivo, okay, I live. Now take a look at this side of the whiteboard. Here we have the preterite tense. Okay, so the present tense is just basic survival Spanish, okay? Informal future is easy to learn. You can talk about hypothetical situations, your dreams, what have you. This is pretty easy, and I think you can learn this very, very quickly. This is to talk about just basic survival Spanish, okay? This is just basic survival Spanish that you need to know. And here, to speak in the past tense, this is more for storytelling, talking about things that have happened in the past to you, for example. Okay, once again, we have AR, ER, and IR verbs, okay? Those are the only verbs that exist in Spanish, AR, ER, and IR. So, the conjugations are as follows. And I know it's a lot of information, by the way, and I know we're not going into the deep nitty-gritty. I really don't want to overwhelm you, but I want to show you that realistically, if you just learn these three main tenses, you can have 80% of the conversations that you want to have. Okay, so for the preterite tense, which is for one-time actions in the past, we have haste, o, hamos, and aron for our AR verbs, iste, yo, imos, and hieron for our ER verbs, and for IR verbs, we have the exact same thing, iste, yo, imos, and hieron, okay, exactly the same. So, how would I say, I lived in Spain for one day? I lived in Spain for one day. Well, we have vivir, that's an IR verb, and I'm saying I lived, which is coming from the yo form, so we have yo viví. Notice how here I didn't put the subject pronoun. I didn't put yo viví. I just put viví because I understand how to conjugate verbs in Spanish, so I don't always need to say yo viví, tú viviste, ellos vivieron. I can just say viví, viviste, vivieron. Okay? So, viví en España por un día. I lived in Spain for one day. I decided I didn't like it, so I moved to Portugal. That's not real. I'm just being silly, but there you go. That's the idea. Remember, the preterite is for one-time actions in the past. The idea is I lived, I ate, I laughed, I went. Those are all one-time actions in the past. Whereas with the imperfect, that is for ongoing actions in the past. So I was living, I used to live, I was eating, I used to eat, I was laughing, I used to laugh. Those are all ongoing actions in the past. So we have AR, ER, and IR verbs once again. For the conjugation, we have aba, abas, aba, abamos, and aban. For ER, ia, ias, ia, íamos, ian. And the same exact thing for IR verbs. Ia, ias, ia, íamos, ian. remember, when we have an accent on a word, it just means that we're going to have emphasis on that letter. Excuse me, I said word. On that letter. Okay, so something I like to teach my students is if I were to change vivir into the imperfect here and I were to say something like vivía, I like to teach my students to kind of almost jump when you say it. Okay, it just kind of gets you into the habit of making sure that you're pronouncing it correctly. Okay, so vivía. Okay, it's not vivía, right? Or vivía. No, it's vivía. Okay, so how would I say you used to eat 37 hamburgers every day? Okay, so you used to eat. Okay, comer is an ER verb. Okay, we're talking about you. Let's do the informal. So we have comías. Okay, so tú comías, and I really apologize for my terrible handwriting here. Tú comías 37 hamburguesas todos los días. You used to eat 37 hamburgers every single day. Don't worry, I used to eat 38, so don't feel bad about yourself. Now, careful with the translation of would in Spanish, okay? You could translate this as you would eat 37 hamburgers every day, but be careful with that translation because many students confuse that with the conditional tense, which is basically when there are conditions. So, I would go to your party, but I'm hanging out with Shakira, for example, okay? It's conditional. That is not the same thing as the imperfect tense. I know this was a lot of information, and don't worry if you're confused or overwhelmed by this. I have lessons here on this channel explaining each of these tenses in depth, but realistically, if you just learn the informal future, which is quite easy to learn, the present tense and the preterite and the imperfect, which we'll just call the past tense, you will be able to have, like I said, 80% of the conversations that you want to be having in Spanish. But if you're feeling lost, confused, stuck, overwhelmed, and you really just want to see more of me, click the link in the video description to check out our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. I am in there seriously every single day talking to my students, helping people. It's a very supportive and open community. You can get all the info by clicking the link in the video description. Muchas gracias por ver este video. Espero que hayas aprendido algo nuevo y espero que tengas buen día. Hasta luego.